Bonjour everyone, welcome to another diecast showcase. So today we will be doing a mega Mopar special. We're going through some of my favorite loose Mopar castings that I have in 1/64 thereabouts or 3-inch scale. Variety of pieces from many different diecast manufacturers, old and new. We're going to be looking at some Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Plymouth, just the whole shebang: cars, trucks, pickups, vans, SUVs, sports cars, regular cars. Yeah, a lot of them. So yeah, without further ado, we'll get started. And this is going to be in no particular order, I guess. But I thought we'd start off with some Jeeps. So, first one we're going to be... Actually, you know what? Before the Jeeps, let's start with the ancestor of this whole lineup. Which is going to be this 1936... Is it 36? No, 33 Plymouth sedan. This is a slightly detailed up Matchbox, and I love old cars like this. You know, they kind of remind me of the old comic books and graphic novels I used to read as a kid, where you'd get the adventure set in gangster era Chicago or something like that, and these would be running around with people shooting back at the cops standing on the side step here. And I think Matchbox really captured this casting pretty well. I mean, it's kind of clumsy if we're talking about lights, and that's pretty visible here. I know that one guy, what he does with these kind of castings, he actually gets the tiny little kind of like the little rhinestones that you can stick on your body or whatever, that girls are kind of into, and he actually uses the appropriately sized ones to make headlights, and it actually looks pretty good. But yeah, so this is like the oldest car that we're going to be looking at here, and it's been released in a few colors, at least 2 or 3. So we'll start a lineup all the way in the back here. Another older car that we're going to be checking out actually is not a car, but it's not quite an SUV either. I thought I'd pull out a casting that's kind of a peg warmer, that's been out in several different colors, but that still is very well done. If we're talking about details, it is the little Willys Jeepster. This, I believe, is a 1948, so pretty old. Here's your base if ever you're interested in seeing that. This specific example is the only one I retained. I've had a couple color waves of this that I've sold or traded over time, namely picking up by mistake twice the maroon red version. This is probably my favorite color for this casting so far, and yeah, it's kind of like a pale green, but not bright green. And it's got a decent amount of casting details. The seats are well done. You have the lap belts that are there and that are visible. Steering wheel is not the best, but it's kind of muted since it's in black. And what I love the most is these front and rear tampos. Split windshield too, eh? So front and rear tampos are looking good. This has not been altered in any way, shape, or form by me. And despite it being in blister pull condition, this was actually a thrift store find. So pretty happy about that one. Why not continue on in the Jeeps? I've got a bunch of Jeeps to show you, some older, some new. If we're talking about the casting release dates, one Jeep that I really loved when I was growing up, because there were so many of them around, was the Jeep Cherokee. The Jeep Cherokee that started in the early to mid 80s and ran all the way to the late 90s. I believe 97 or 98 was the last year of production. I've got here the Hot Wheels version that looks really good, despite the fact that there's no front tampos. I'll probably eventually add some lights on there. But and I do have the green colorway of this carded as well. So it's got fender flares, it's got the big off-road wheels, a lift, a push bar. It's got you know, the extra fuel whatever they're called there, the fuel jugs there. It's got some equipment on the roof for camping, and you know, a little ladder, shovel, traction aids, and all kinds of stuff. It's got the extra vents on the hood, which may or may not mean it's swapped with a different engine. But yeah, I find it's a pretty decent effort, and it would be a cool one to customize. But yeah, so far it's blister pull stock. So, and I did present this one in a prior video a while ago. We've got here the Greenlight version that's completely stock, the Jeep Pioneer, Cherokee Pioneer Edition, which is literally an appearance package. Yeah, so it's kind of like the base model, but with aluminum alloy wheels and a little bit more bright work than the basic model. It's still got the early impact bumpers with the little rubber corners. Very well done, true 164, metal base, rubber tires. Good looking little casting, and you can see that next to the modified version, it is a little bit smaller. I also pulled a recently acquired Jeep Grand Cherokee. This is a very basic casting from Maisto with the bling wheels. Not a whole lot of tampo work in the front. Huge Grand Cherokee limited badge on the side, and yeah, V8 badge on the trunk, which means this specific generation would come with a 5.2 liter V8, Magnum V8, pre-Hemi basically. So yeah, I do have, as mentioned when I did the thrift store find diecast showcase, where this guy was actually introduced to the collection. I do have a larger 130 something scale Maisto Jeep of the same vintage with the Tonka badge on the door. Let's see, which Jeep are we gonna chow? Well, yeah, if we're looking at a Grand Cherokee, we can't really get around looking at a well, probably the inspiration behind the Grand Cherokee, the Jeep Wagoneer. So this is the Hot Wheels version, just a few details added for added realism. Light bar, the two spotlights, sides all Hot Wheels. Front, I just did a few grille details and added some rear lights, as well as a dab of chrome for the license plate trim. Besides that, it's pretty much all stock. I do have another variation of this, the first one that came out, and this is the second one that I actually found loose, again, thrift store find. And it's cool, matte black with the little red pinstriping and the gloss black on the lower part of the body. Looks cool next to the Cherokee, so that's pretty awesome. Of course, the oddball Jeep, and one that I was not familiar with before actually this casting being released by Matchbox first and then afterwards by Hot Wheels, is the Jeep FC. It's a 57 model, obviously modified in the case of the Hot Wheels, as shown with the Hellcat engine in the back. You can see the blower. No modifications to this one that I've done. It's got, again, the B-lock wheels, which is always a good choice of wheel for a Hot Wheels off-road vehicle. You know, it's cool. It's a cab over engine design technically. Well, now it's mid-engined. And yeah, you've got a Matchbox moving parts stock version of this also that has been released, I believe, last year by Matchbox. So I like the front tampos. Side is very cool with the old school kind of like publicity pitch on the door, and yeah, there you go. Very cool little truck. We've got, after that, yeah, we could go with a couple more Wagoneers, I guess. You've got the what is it, J7, J10 The J10 in the K&N livery. Again, very cool casting, kind of like a little reverse rake going on. I like the K&N livery, and it's got a really nice blue, and this is a cool truck. So basically a pickup version of the Wagoneer that we looked at before. And another body style that was also offered on the Wagoneer, at least in the early iterations, was the two-door. Very well represented here by this vintage made in France Majorette in a nice metallic bronze color with opening tailgate and a little puppy in the back. It's got the what are they, 5-line wheels, I guess, and it's a metal body, metal base with suspension, and it's actually a 1/64th scale, which is kind of cool because Majorette normally just will go with the 3-inch measure, and sometimes you'll get that random casting that is actually true 1/64. So next up, we have here a very cool Jeep TJ. So 97 to what, 2003, maybe 2004, when they went from the square lights of the YJ to the back to the round lights of the TJ. And that's very cool. Throwback to the CJ, which was before the YJ. Okay, that's a whole lot of J, so let's concentrate on the model. No front and rear tampos. This is kind of cool because it's a Zamac finish, unpainted, with some groovy tampos on the side. Lots of stuff on the roof, and very flashy orange interior. It actually has a half decent steering wheel as well. It's kind of hard to see, but yeah. So that's a cool little I just like the finish. The Zamac finish is really cool on this. So yeah, Matchbox Zamac, believe it or not. Definitely not an exclusive to anything though. Last two Jeeps we're going to be checking out will be a stock looking well, it would be current gen, but now it's kind of previous gen Rubicon. It's detailed front and back, since the side was very well done already from factory. Also added some silver for that spare wheel. Yeah, it's a pretty decent, day-to-day stock looking Jeep, and my favorite color for a Jeep, green. There you go. 2018 4-door. That's pretty cool. It's a Rubicon, as we can see on the side of the hood. And of course, well, Matchbox does its stock, and Hot Wheels just goes nuts. Look at that. Exoskeleton style doors. This really weird rear portion. It's kind of gradient. Kind of weird looking. You've got a little hole or see-through portion of the hood, which shows a big supercharged engine. So I guess it's got a Hellcat motor or something, maybe a Hemi, I don't know. And yeah, again, really cool, big old beadlock off-road wheels. And this is actually a stock Tampo, which is kind of cool. I find it's well made. And yeah, big boy Jeep. There you go, stock versus modified in pretty much the same color. So that's kind of cool. All right, how about we delve into some pickup trucks? Yeah, why not? Why not? We'll try and do an old to new again, I guess. So I'm not sure out of these two which one is the oldest and which one is the newest, but it doesn't really matter. We've got first and foremost a Matchbox Motorsports liveried big old four-door Dodge pickup. Is this the Dodge D200? 200 being the 4x4 version, 100 being the non 4x4 version. 68 this one. So it may or may not be the oldest one in pickups that we're going to be looking at. That's going to be dependent on the model year of the next one that we're going to be checking out. But I did add a little bit of details on this one too, front and rear, as you can see, so as to make sure it actually has lights. Put this one here, kind of hiding the Plymouth, but that's fine. There we go. And yep, the counterpart would be, yeah, okay, so that one is a bit older. This one here out of the Speed Blur pack is the Dodge Power Wagon. So two-door version with the accessories that, you know, just like a more outdoorsy, sporty type of version. Also 4x4, and it's got a chrome base. You can tell it's from a speed blur package because of the gray wheels that they tend to put on the speed blur cars. So, but yeah, it's a nice little truck. I love the matte black with the white, with the matte white. Very cool. And yeah, definitely looks great, both in two-door and four-door. Then we have little bit newer. We've got a couple of the 50 series trucks. So we've got the Little Red Express in silver, which this is actually kind of a fairly easy one to find. There was a variation in dark blue with the silver graphics with 5 spokes that I actually did not pick up at the same time as this one, way back when this was brand new on the pegs, and I've always regretted it because that dark blue one is really hard to find now. So, and this is a casting I really like. So there you go. Had to have a Little Red Express if we're looking at Dodge trucks. And of course, we also have the Baja version with the reverse rake, open rear. I did add some light details to this one. More or less makes sense. Did the strap for the spare as well. More or less makes sense because these wouldn't have had lights on the get-go, but I thought it looked better with some details on there, so I went nuts and just added all the lights and the bits and bobs here and there. So this one was also picked up new when it was released. So there you go, street and off-road version, pre-runner type. And we'll finish off the trucks with a couple of again, Rams. You gotta have a Ram. So we'll start by looking at a Matchbox version. So this one's kind of like a utility. Is this a 2500 or 3500? Well, it's a Ram flatbed, not really written, but I like the gold base. Added the front details there because there was no lights. Detailed the stuff in the rear bed. Added some rear deets too, just to make sure it looks a little bit more realistic. And yeah, I like the skull on the side, and I don't think this has an interior because it's got completely opaque windows. Oh yeah, and I even added a little bit of orange on the top here for those roof lights. So it kind of looks like a 2500 or 3500. So it's pretty cool. And of course, well, Matchbox did that one, and Hot Wheels, well, they decided to go all out and do a huge short bed crew cab, lifted. You know, box has got a bunch of stuff in there. You got some audio, you've got some nitrous bottles. I'm guessing maybe it's nitrous bottles, I'm not sure. And of course a black chrome interior, which lends itself to the bed and its accessories, and also matches the wheels in color. And yeah, you got a black base on this one. Yeah, 2006 copyright, Malaysia base, Ram 1500. So maybe much bigger, but not as heavy duty as the Matchbox version, or I assume. Last actual pickup we're going to be checking out, if we can call it that. It's more like a van converted to a pickup. It's a Matchbox Dodge A100 pickup, and there we go, Gulf livery. A few details added once more, front, rear, but overall, very good casting. And you know, I like this casting also from M2. You know, this Matchbox basic version out of a 5-pack, it just looks good, you know, just with a couple details added, you know, just with some lights and silver here and there, and just looks good. And I love the steelies with the orange center. Those are really cool as well. So it's kind of like a cool shop truck. I do like that. We do have one more SUV that we could check out right now. So we are talking about probably my favorite SUV that probably is still in production right now. We're talking about the Dodge Durango SRT. This is a Greenlight casting, and I love it. I have this variation and a green machine, white with the blue stripes, a la Viper GTSR. So yeah, this one's what is it, gunship gray with the black stripes. It's got some lensed features, and it's got the correct wheels in black, and it's got the dual exhaust, and it even has a spot where you can install a hitch should you want to install one, which is kind of cool. So yeah, metal base, of course, because it's a Greenlight 2018 copyright, and just love this SUV. Local guy to me actually has a murdered out black on black one, and damn do I ever know when he's passing down the street, because that exhaust sounds good. All right, couple vans here. We've got this old Corgi hot rod custom van, very clearly a Dodge. I mean, it's pretty easy to tell from the front clip. And yeah, it's a very customized van. I guess kind of vintage. It's not the vintage Corgis, but I mean, I found this was really too cool to pass up in a thrift store grab bag. I don't have a whole lot of Corgi, but this one I'm definitely happy to have. It's very, very cool. It's very, very custom. And another custom one, but closer to the stockish version, would be the Hot Wheels version of that same Dodge van. Right away you can see it's got the same front clip pretty much, maybe slightly different if it's a different model year, but altogether very similar. This was before they used to use this circle flame logo as a treasure hunt, so this is not a treasure hunt. And it is after they decided to go with a big cutout on the roof to save on metal and therefore cheapen out slightly the product. I can see it did add some lights in the back, which I didn't remember. Oh yeah, and a little bit of yellow for those turn indicators next to the headlights. But yeah, I love the color. This is one of those flip paint colors that Hot Wheels does. This one goes like from almost blue to light purple, and it looks great with those flames. You know, color swing's pretty cool on this color. And I love vans, so I'm not gonna complain about that. All right. So we've done the vans. I've only pulled out one single wagon because I don't have a whole lot of Mopar wagons that are loose, but I do have, of course, as all my black bandits are, this really, really cool Plymouth. I believe it was a Belvedere or Satellite. Satellite, yeah, Plymouth Satellite. So it's basically your more run-of-the-mill version of the Roadrunner or Super B and all those. Big A body wagon. It's also got the opening rear, well, whatever part of the trunk this is. And see, this one does have a hitch as well. All black because it's a black Bandit. It's got the BB plate on the front and on the rear. And, you know, nice amount of details as one would expect from Greenlight. Metal base. 1970 Plymouth Satellite station wagon. Very cool. Very, very cool. All right, well, that's a whole lot of vans and trucks and SUVs and all that jazz, but how about we get into cars? Because we've only looked at one car so far. And, I mean, I prefer cars to trucks, personally. I don't know about you guys. But, yeah, let's check out the... I've only pulled out 2 Chryslers for this video. And they're both of the same Chrysler model and probably the most, you know, well-known modern Chrysler model. We are talking about the Chrysler 300. So I pulled out this version from Maisto out of the fresh metal line. You know, it's got a decent amount of details, fugly wheels, but decent amount of details, you know. And yeah, proportions are pretty good. Maybe a little bit skinny, a little bit tall, and the fitment of the rear bumper here is not the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, as the bumper is plastic on the back, whereas it's metal on the front. I'm not sure what that decision was about, but either way. So we've got the first Chrysler 300, and then we have the when Hot Wheels was doing this cool Dub City, blings kind of thing going on with the chrome interior. You got the infotainment screen in there, just like Jada used to do. And those wheels, I mean, those are baller wheels right there. I mean, you had this 20 years ago on your car, you were balling. I mean, these look like freaking 26-inch wheels, whereas 22s were big back then. So you got the little 300C badge showing it's a Hemi. Nice details on the back and front. And yeah, you got some audio gear going on that rear parcel shelf, which is great. Now, the proportion on this one is definitely not as good as the Maisto one, because it is definitely stubby. But then again, when the first charger of the same generation came out, I mean, it was pretty much in the same proportions as well. I do have a version of that, but I didn't pull it out because, it's kind of junky and whatnot. I didn't want to pull out too many junky pieces unless they're vintage. All right, example of, well, we've got this Welly. I believe this is a Coronet, if I'm not mistaken. It's kind of like a rescue liveried 4-door car. It's not branded as a Welly, so it could be a knockoff, but the wheels are telltales right away. The Welly was copying the sports wheels that Tomica used to put out. Well, still puts out to this day, actually, on their main line. And yeah, this one is a pretty simple casting, not a whole lot of details, but it's pretty recognizable. So, it's kind of police cars you'd see in like Blues Brothers, or that the same era police car you'd see in Smoking the Bandit, and all kinds of late 70s movies of that that nature. All right, now we're gonna get to the more fun stuff. Because obviously you can't have a Mopar showcase without having a little bit of Mopar muscle, right? So let's start off with some classic Mopars, and we'll gradually get into the the newer stuff, I guess. We'll start with the older Mopars that Matchbox released last year that are phenomenal castings. We've got first the 62 Plymouth Savoy, which is beautiful. There was a max wedge version of this car that existed with a big 413 cubic inch V8. I mean, for the early 60s, that was something. It was drag racing specific there, but still a heck of a cool car. It's a nice casting. It's got details where it needs, and no silliness where it's not, and those perfect poverty cap wheels, which is great. And the other one that's really fantastic is this first generation Charger. This is 66. Yeah, 66 Dodge Charger. Very, very cool. Well, I think 2 years ago, this one. So obviously this one in orange, first release, kind of emulates the whole what is it, Dukes of Hazzard kind of thing, but this is a first generation, whereas the Dukes of Hazzard was second generation Charger, like in 1970, so, or thereabouts. This is definitely more fastback, and that's where they were going. Example, in the mid to late 60s, proof of that being, example, this 50th anniversary re-release Redline 2018, the Barracuda. You can see it's around the same model year, 67, this one, right? Or 68. 68 Hemi Barracuda. So 68, you see that you've got the fastback going on there too, which was gaining traction in the US. You got some tampos on the front. Very, very cool. So yeah, at that era, fastbacks were slowly getting more and more popular in the States. And yeah, The people at Mopar were they also jumped on the fastback bandwagon. You know, cars like the Torino Talladega. You know, there's a lot of bigger body fastback style cars. You know, the what is it called? The AMC Marlin. You know, cars of this body shape basically are definitely, you know, it's an era basically. Speaking of, got a couple more of these really cool smaller. So you got a 68 Dodge Dart here. So you can see that the Dodge Dart versus the Barracuda did not have the fastback. So this is a 68. You know, just a mainline, basically, just a mainline. Bought it in store and cracked it open. There you go. We've got this mystery model that I picked up very recently. This is a Formula S, I believe. Yeah, Plymouth Barracuda Formula S. So the Barracuda Formula S was the coupe version. So it more closely resembles the Dodge we checked out before. It's the Plymouth equivalent, basically. And you'll see it has the same front clip as the two fastbacks. It was part of a recent mystery model release that I managed to score, so pretty happy about that one. We have also a Plymouth Duster. This is a 1971 Plymouth Duster from Johnny Lightning, and it's part of their what is it? Monopoly themed cars. This one is also a thrift store find. I did have to repair the front wing. One of the posts broke, so I re-glued that together. And I really like the chrome purple color, as well as the fact that the little race car was always the one I wanted when I was playing this board game. Because, well, obviously it's a race car, so, I mean, there you go. So very cool. All details you'd expect from a Johnny. Nice looking wheels. Nice looking like rally style steel wheels. All the details are there. Very good looking car. Metal body, rubber tires on this one. Some Johnnies do not have the rubber tires. They have the fast rolling hard plastic wheels. So yeah, there you go. Very cool. 2000 copyright date. All right, so now we've gotten the smaller body cars mostly out of the way, all the way up to the 70s. So obviously you had the Plymouth Duster that we just checked out, but of course we also have 1970 that brought us the Plymouth Barracuda, and this is probably the most desirable spec that I have in the collection, and I'm pretty sure diehard Mopar muscle fans will agree. Got the 426 Hemi powered small body Hemi Cuda with all the details under hood and on the rest of the car. Very, very well done cast. You can see the typical square or rectangle exit exhaust, and this is a good one from our friends at Greenlight. It's an older one, as you can see. It's got a is it 2006? Yeah, 2006 copyright date. So I mean, this is getting up there. 18 years ago this casting was actually licensed. We do have also a one step up in the size department. We do have this Greenlight Challenger, and this is a casting I believe is also shared with Racing Champions. It's got a cool stance. It's a little bit lowered on the front, so it has kind of a rake going on, as you can see. So it's pretty cool. It's got the Goodyear tires. Is it Goodyear? Yeah, it's Goodyear. Goodyear tires. And this is 70 or 71. Also from Greenlight, as mentioned. It's a 71. 71. I thought so, because the grill's slightly different versus the 70. That's the one in Vanishing Point. So this one does not have a Hemi though. Not yet. It's an RT. So I mean, it could have a 440. It could be a 340 car as well. I'm not sure what engine size that is. I mean, I'm knowledgeable about the engines, but I mean, just to be able to figure out what it is just by looking at it, I'm not that good. Another slight, well, this one's actually smaller in scale, but in real life is a slightly bigger car. We have a, this is an older one. This is a 2000 license cast, but we have a, what does it say? Yeah, this is a Plymouth Roadrunner. This is like a 71 or 72, something like that. It's not written on the base, or if it was, it's gone now. And this is like out of the Barn Find series from Johnny Lightning. So it's definitely a smaller scale, but you know, it's got that fender that's all busted up. Again, the steelies with the poverty caps, which is great because the little caps in the middle actually hide the axle. That's awesome. And it's got all the good details that you'd want. So nice little model. I have many exemplars of this body style, although it's far from being my favorite. Sometimes, you know, things just happen and you end up with casts that you didn't think you would have a bunch of. Yeah, last premium, or I don't want to say premium, last of the kind of like non-Mattel cars that we're going to be checking out is another legend. It is the one of the big wing cars. This one is, which one is this, the Plymouth or the Dodge? It's the Charger, the Charger Daytona. This also has that opening hood. I believe this is a 440, so probably same engine as we saw in the purple Challenger. So a 440 car, not a Hemi. It's got the color-coded steelies again, with the red line tires, a little poverty cap in the middle, and nice pastel yellow with the white stripe. It's got a couple dings because I've had this since it was released. Bought this in store. And when was this licensed? 2000. 68 Charger Daytona from Johnny Lightning. This is like from playing Mantis era of cars where they were still available up here in Canada on the pegs in the big box stores. So yeah, I miss those days. I mean, come back to Canada, Johnny Lightning, other than through specific diecast resellers, is help save some money. Another wing car that we're going to be looking at is the Hot Wheels version, also Dodge Charger Daytona. I really don't like the stance of this one too much, and I do prefer the slammed one that got discontinued. This one's still in production now. It's in the most recent 2024 released Mopar 5-pack. So, I mean, it's a good dollar car, but I mean, the stance is off. Obviously, the size is, well, it's not that much bigger. It's actually pretty good. Normally, Johnnies are a little bit small in scale for that era of car, at least, like the early to mid 2000s. So that's pretty cool. Got another Challenger. This is 1970, and this is one that I detailed out a lot. You may recognize the mainline release that this started as, and now it's got the full treatment in the front. Some bright work on the side. Redone wheels. It's got the white rimmed tires, and now the steelies are actually metal. And you've got some details on the back here, as you can see. This was like literally blank, no chrome surrounds around the window, and, you know, such a good looking cast. The stance of this thing is so cool. I love this casting from Hot Wheels. And yeah, I guess pretty much the last non, modern Mopar we're going to be checking out is this really nice Fast and Furious premium release matte black with the matte bronze stripe and the 5-spoke reel riders in bronze as well to complement it. The big 70 Charger. And this has got the big mid-engined Elephant engine, that 1,000 horsepower crate engine from well, I guess Chrysler, you could say. Here you go. I actually do have a main line of this as well, which was a 10-pack exclusive for the Fast and Furious pack, and it's literally exactly the same, but plastic base and OH5s. So it's definitely a cool car. Heavy, big. I'd say last of the older cars, I guess we're going to look at. I mean, we kind of have to get into a little bit of Vipers, right? So we've got the OG from Matchbox in red with the black wheels. Good looking cast. Definitely not as good as the newer retooled Hot Wheels one, which I do have on card, but we're going to strictly focus on loose cars here. So we got a Viper in red, the OG one, the Roadster, our RT10. We've got also the second gen. Well, actually, no. Second gen would be like the first gen, but coupe. Technically, I guess this is a third gen or a redux. The motor going from 8 liters to 8.3, if I'm not mistaken, on this gen. This one is an ACR. You recognize that with a big wing. Got the purple paint and the green interior. It's kind of like a Joker theme going on with the gold wheels. Looks good. I like it. Definitely like it. Put this one here. Then if we go through again the generations, the last generation before the demise, I've got a Hot Wheels. It's a multi-pack exclusive purple one. The SRT10. The Viper SRT10 or the SRT Viper. Yeah, SRT Viper. This would be the GTS version. Also in purple, and you do have the GTSR race version, also in blue. Not sure where this one was from, and this one has front light tampos, which is great because all the other Hot Wheels ones don't, except for the newest tooling. So yeah, definitely this one is a little bit off if we're talking about proportions, but you know, I thought it was still worth showing. And last Viper we're going to be checking out is the same last gen GTS coupe, but this is a recent Majorette pickup with the suspension, the rubber tires, opening doors, and full painted details with lensed front lights and a couple scuffs on the tampos, as mentioned when I showed this model off. And then we'll be jumping into the last portion of the video, which is the current or soon to be previous Mopar generations. So the only other Majorette that I decided to showcase in this showcase is this Hellcat, also in red, matte black top, hood and trunk, also opening doors, same set of wheels with the rubber tires and a little bit of suspension on there. Lensed front lights, nicely detailed rear, little Hellcat badge there. So that's awesome. And then we'll actually, you know what? Let's look at some first new gen Chargers, or first generation of the newer gen. Yeah, this one I showed not too long ago. It's a lone Siku that I decided to revisit with the New York Taxi. It's a base model, 2.7 liter rear wheel drive, you know, 190 horsepower, you know, kind of like utilitarian workhorse. And here we have the Hot Wheels Drift version of that same first gen, with the big wang gang going on. Not a whole lot of details, as you can see, but those are pretty easy to add. You know, it's not an overly fussy or complicated design in this car. I like the fact that it has a roof scoop. Yeah, and interior wise, it's a closed window car. There's still a full interior from what I can gather, and no roll cage, so it's kind of a shame, but you know, still a cool casting. And we have the equivalent Challenger drift car. Pretty much the same MO. Again, no roll cage, full interior. Oh, actually, no, it has a roll cage in the back, this one, but it still has 2 seats, which is kind of okay, because, I mean, then you can have passenger runs on the drift track. So that's kind of cool. We're getting close to the end, guys. We're going to be looking at a base model Matchbox last gen Charger, or current gen, or I guess I don't know if it's still in production or if it's officially been discontinued at this point, but yeah, the last. So you got the base version of the Charger, then you've got the let's see, which one is which? Yeah, so you've got the SRT version of the Viper. SRT, this is a Matchbox moving parts with opening hood and actually no details under the hood. It's all black. Try and get a better view of it, but yeah, so the SRT version, I mean, it does have a blower, so it should be technically a Hellcat, especially it's got the Hellcat logo, but it's branded as an SRT. This one is branded as a Hellcat, and this is a Hot Wheels. This is a 10-pack exclusive Fast and Furious model, and it's absolutely brilliant. And that'll be the last piece we're going to check out in regards to this little Mopar showcase, and we'll just do a quick pan over to look at all these cars quickly. So hopefully you enjoyed this little showcase. If you did, of course, leave a like, comment your feedback, and subscribe to be advised of when I upload next. And on that, I will wish you a great evening. Happy hunting. Stay safe out there. And I will catch you on the next one. Take care.